Across the country, people continue to mourn the sudden and tragic loss of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. On Wednesday, while speaking at Utah Valley University, Kirk was assassinated. The suspect, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, was arrested more than a day later. Turning Point USA has confirmed that Kirk's funeral will take place next Sunday, the 21st, at State Farm Stadium in Arizona. His death has left millions in shock, but no response has been more heartbreaking or more defining than that of his parents. Vigils are being held nationwide. In Phoenix, mourners gather outside the headquarters of Turning Point USA, the organization Kirk co-founded to mobilize young conservative voters. On Friday night, his wife spoke publicly for the first time, vowing to carry on her husband's work. To lose a son in such a violent and senseless way is a pain words cannot capture, his parents said. Even in their grief, they stood before cameras, not just as devastated parents, but as symbols of resilience and a call for unity in a divided nation. Kirk's wife thanked family, supporters, and former President Trump, declaring, "The movement my husband started will live on. We must be free to speak our beliefs without living in fear of violence." Trump remembered Kirk as a giant of his generation, a champion of liberty, and an inspiration to millions. He also announced that Kirk would receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom after his death. For Kirk's parents, the assassination was not only a personal loss, but an attack on the idea of civil debate. They urged Americans not to meet hate with hate, but to honor their son through dialogue rather than destruction. His wife's grief was just as profound. With trembling words, she spoke of the life they had imagined together, dreams of a family and a future cut short in an instant. Unlike most widows, she cannot grieve privately. Her husband's death has forced her into the spotlight of a national conversation. The investigation is still underway. Authorities say Robinson used Discord to post about the weapon and ammunition before the shooting. A bolt-action rifle, wrapped in a towel, was recovered near campus, along with unused bullets etched with disturbing messages. For Kirk's extended family, the loss has been overwhelming. Some remain silent, mourning privately, while others voice frustration at how quickly heated words can erupt into violence. They ask, what kind of society are we becoming when disagreements are no longer settled with debate, but with bullets? The most unforgettable moment came when Charlie's parents spoke at his memorial. Thousands sat in silence as their words, delivered not with anger, but with heartbreaking grace, rose above politics and division. They reminded the world that before Charlie Kirk was an activist or a public figure, he was their son, their child, and no parent should ever have to bury their own. The standing ovation that followed was more than applause. It was a recognition of shared humanity, a moment of compassion where politics fell away, replaced by the universal grief of parents mourning a child. Their speech will be remembered as one of the defining moments after Kirk's assassination. Not because of politics, but because of its raw truth, a truth that briefly brought people together across divides. In the end, Charlie Kirk's parents offered more than a tribute to their son. They gave the world a reminder that grief is universal, love rises above ideology, and even in the darkest hours, humanity can still shine through.